Welcome. My name is Constanze. I'm working at Siemens, and I'm responsible for the S/4HANA transformation in finance, Siemens globally, to move to the overall new future landscape. Today, I would like to take you to our journey and what we have achieved so far and what kind of experiences we have taken and what kind of architecture and topics we have addressed so far with our S/4HANA transformation. Before we start, I would like to explain a little bit on what Siemens stands all about and where was our starting point. The Siemens is a big company. We are a leading technology company and we provide industry-specific support. So our customer base is basically the industry in itself. We have close to 300,000 employees. We do close to 60 billion of revenue, so it's rather big. And that you can see as well when you have a look at our as-is SAP system landscape. So our system landscape is mainly done or based on SAP. It's mainly ECC 6.0. We haven't consolidated much the ERP landscape. It was grown bottom up. We haven't introduced new technologies like new GL, all these kind of topics we haven't done. And what you can see here is the spread on the overall SAP boxes system. Those are all productive boxes matched with our organizational structures. And without even understanding all the details, you can see we have many. At the moment in our scope, we have 34 huge SAP systems, and those are cross all over the organizations as we have it at the moment. We have them built up from a profit and loss point of view, organizational responsibility point of view, end to end. So on a global level, we have regional systems, we have all varieties and all complexity. And that was one of the topics that we wanted to address. So what was the biggest topic? We started a project. Our S/4HANA transformation project is called Focus 4. And that is because we focus on implementing the finance processes based on latest technologies, meaning S/4HANA. And here we try to embrace that technology at Siemens globally. So worldwide. We want to standardize our processes with that endeavor, and we would like to renew our processes. So that is the big mission of our S/4HANA transformation project in finance. The logistics is coming separately and a little bit later, and there we have more flexibility. When we started with the S/4HANA transformation, we really thought we have to invest quite a lot. So what should be our guiding principles, key principles that we really want to take care of with all our decision making when we already renew our SAP landscape? And here are the key topics I would like to address. And don't be afraid, I don't go to all the details on the gray boxes, but I would like to talk a little bit on the bigger chunks. So the first and most important thing that we want to address is standardization. Standardization in two aspects. One is the standardization in the sense of I use standard functionality. Big companies like Siemens have the tendency to implement and program all the additional features that we believe we need. We want to get rid of those. We think we should not be differentiating, in particular not in support process, by self-programmed individual processes that only Siemens uses, has to maintain and update. The second part of the standardization, obviously, is the topic of standardized processes. There is no reason from a Siemens perspective to have different processes in supporting processes like finance processes that we really would like to have as a differentiator. So we want to have one process, the power of one, and we want to use standard software wherever we can. The second big topic that we try to achieve is be cloud ready. We decided that our S/4HANA starting point is on-premise because we haven't seen the cloud technology as ready for the Siemens size, at least as of now. But we want to go there. We want to be really on a software as a service cloud. Meaning whatever we do at the moment, we look already into that future state of mind and using the technology to be cloud ready. That includes that we use the technologies like in-app extensibility, side-by-side scenarios, all these kind of techniques we utilize. The third thing that we try to address, obviously we want to be faster. We want to accelerate our processes. This means that maybe we have lesser steps within the process, so lean process design. The new technology helps us here because some of the steps within S/4HANA simply flow away. Good example is the reconciliation between subledgers and general ledger at period end closing. Since we all have then the ACDoc-R, the universal journal, that task simply, is void. Now we get rid of that because the technique is different on that. The fourth big topic that we try to apply is sustainability. That whatever we do at the moment needs to be future-proof. To some extent, what we try to do is we always try to embrace the latest and best technology that SAP is just bringing on the market. We try to avoid just taking the old techniques like profitability analysis just because it's still available, since the future is announced by SAP that it's the profitability analysis that is based on the ACDoc-A. We are fully aware with this decision that not all the technology is as ready as we need it. And maybe sometimes it's even worse than what has been presented before. Nevertheless, for us, this is a very important step because this is the way to go. Otherwise, we would need to exchange those programs again and again. And we want to be future-proof. That's our sustainability. Uniformity is that standard processes, I addressed this already, and that we make sure that we ensure correctness of books and records, and that we do as well with quality at source. Coming to the master data topics as well, that goes a little bit into sustainability. We, as Siemens, for the first time have a lot of finance data, master data, then with the MDG covered on that. And then the last topic we address is the topic of software delivery process. I'm stressing a little bit that I'm responsible for finance, but we all know that logistics is where the music plays. Siemens will not have one single instance in the future. We will have various instances, and nevertheless, I want to have a standardized finance process. How would we achieve that? We achieve that by creating a template software with standard processes in finance, and then we deliver this finance standard transactions via transports, via the solution manager, and handle this as if we would be a software provider. And I'm coming to that. Any decision we take in the project, what we are doing is based on those key principles, and we always try to match and take this in the right context. So that is what we really take care of. I stressed a little bit, we are finance, this is our finance, so it's important to explain a little bit on what is our scope, what am I responsible for, and what do I have to define. So the first line are the general standard modules that pretty much were available in ECC 6.0 as well. So general ledger, asset accounting, accounts receivables, accounts payables, the closing process, as well as controlling. And here we talk obviously a lot about overhead controlling since we have finance processes. The second line for Siemens is very interesting, and maybe for you as well, because here we embrace, at least from the viewpoint of Siemens, new territory, things we haven't done before at all in a technical manner, or at least not with SAP products. And the first big thing is the business planning. Business planning, there is this new business planning module that we introduced and utilized that based on the famous AC.P. We have done a lot on Excel, on self-developed tools in the past, and now we really integrate that. And that is a very nice thing to see, because suddenly we have business planning much more integrated with the actuals. We could do all the planning process much better integrated. And then we have this embedded into the reporting and analytics technology. The second topic is the master data, and here we are talking about SAP MDG, and I'm coming a little bit to what we cover with that. Since we are finance template, obviously we are not talking about materials, but we are talking about business partners, we are talking about chart of accounts, we are talking about a lot of this finance master data that we distribute with a single source of truth. We decided as well that we will have our IFRS 16, the leasing component that you have to cover via the RAFX tool, and we do this globally for all the other systems as well. We have a little bit of materials management and sales and distribution because we want to use resource-related billing. We want to have indirect procurement at least, and we do charging via the SD module. So we decided not to have any FI invoice without having a proper sales order. Just for compliance. And now we added export functionality and taxes and customs. The bottom line is interesting because here we talk about the supporting tools. And the most important one, or interesting probably, that I would recommend you to look into is reporting and analytics. This is something that has dramatically changed with S/4HANA, and name it, for example, embedded BW, business warehouse. This is based on the technology that has not been available before. We suddenly have cloud functions. We suddenly have functions that have been available in BW only. That is very, very interesting. But I can share already, you have to really train the people. And you have to have a look at the performance topics. So when you start with CDS views on how to slice and dice that is something you need to take care of, need to be aware of, that depending on how you set up the CDS views, the performance of the reports that are based on the CDS views might be impacted. So this is one of our bigger lessons learned. We have workflow and automation tools. We just started with machine learning with a proof of concept, so I cannot really share a lot as of now with machine learning, but overall it looks quite promising. We decided that we would use Fiori as a user interface only. One of the reasons why we did this is, again, sustainability, future-proof. This is the way forward. SAP doesn't guarantee to maintain the transactions as we know it from the past, fully at least. And the second thing, we thought from a change management perspective, we need to be a little bit more dramatic. We have to enforce our users to really go to the new technique, because otherwise probably they would stick and stay what they know. Feels more comfortable, it's more the comfort zone, and then we tried here as well to have analytical apps embedded, use that, and we started with the KPIs that show already on the tile whether it's worth moving into it, how many open purchase orders, how many open tasks are to be performed when you enter a specific Fiori app on that. Don't underestimate the change management, that I can say. It looks similar, it is not for a user. Then from a system integration point of view, we introduced the PI and we utilized ARF, the interface framework from SAP, and moved with that a lot of the user and error handling from core IT to IT and business users, depending on what kind of error we have taken up. Big change management as well. The technology is fantastic. It works very stable and it's really flexible. Nevertheless, an end user who always, when there was an issue with an interface, was raising a ticket and suddenly has to look at his or her data, him or herself, that is a change impact. And then access control, obviously, you have to have. This is the user provisioning. And then we have introduced as well business integrity screening, which is a submodule of GRC. Business integrity screening is a topic we would like, or we address this already, to make process controls more automated and embedded on that. And I have an example later on how this looks like. This is our scope. And then as the next slide, if I get this done. Yeah, now I get it. I explain a little bit on how this looks like. Since we have finance template on how we deliver on that. And I go from bottom to top. So we have a global solution platform. This is PI, these kind of topics where we started. And then you have this Focus 4. Remember, Focus 4 is the Siemens word for our project. This is the name. We have a template and we have a template system where we implement that. And then via transports, we move this up to all the productive systems. You see here a red box. This is a could be one productive system, and then there are several red boxes behind, a little bit in the shade. So we will probably have 5, maybe 6 productive boxes, SAP systems based on S/4HANA in the future end state when we migrated or transferred everything. And all of those will have the Focus 4 template as one part, and then the logistics portion could be added. We have then so-called global solutions. These are solutions that we have only once, and they are connected via replication or via the latest technology once, because this is one global solution that is connected, and the most famous one is the MDG. So we have one MDG system for finance master data, and they are connected with all. And that works with a replication, because here you have to be sure that all the settings are identical between MDG and the targeting system, otherwise the replication will not work. We ensure that synchronity because they get all those data via the transports from the template. Right. So that is how the architecture setup is. We decided that we would support 2 SAP releases. One of the topics to ensure future-proofness, sustainability, one of the key decisions, if you remember, is that we always upgrade to the latest SAP version that is available. So normally, if you think of 1909, which is the one that we are currently on, that gets released in September, October. We normally switch our productive systems in May the following year already. And even now, even though we are currently on 1909, we prepare already ourselves to the next SAP release 2020. We decided, since we are a template provider, that we would provide 2 releases always. We cannot enforce everybody to upgrade at the same time within Siemens. And you see here we have the T4D is a development system for the template based on the sub-release 1909. Here development happened. Then we move on to the T4Q, the quality assurance system for the template, still on 1909. We do this based on feature packs. Every 3 weeks, we have a bit and piece of a software delivery. We follow the agile project methodology, and 3 weeks is our sprint cycle as well, so that fits. And then we deliver either to a productive system or project system that is on 1909, or we do a down port, and then we have the cycle, we call this T3D as a system, make a down port, and then deliver this to a solution that is a little bit still on 1809. And when we move now to 2020, then we would support 1909 for the time being until we move to 2021 on that. Feature packs is really with a sprint, with the agile project methodology, is a product increment. It's tested, and it's as a package, you can really follow that. This is how we do this. Here you see an overview on how we are doing this. So we are on our way to the industrialized software development. We have here on the bottom line all the feature packs, and obviously we gave them the numbers depending on which sub-release we are on. We have, in addition, we have minor releases where we go and set productive some functionality. We do have major releases where we have migrations and new legal entities, company codes that we set live. And we have release topics with the MDG as well. So basically every 3 weeks we have something at least, and then half a year is pretty packed. No? This is what we can say. What is our time schedule? Where are we? Very busy slide. I know this is the official time schedule from the past. We actually started already in our fiscal year. Fiscal year for Siemens is from 1st of October always until end of September. So that is the Siemens fiscal year. We started already in fiscal year 15-16 with a proof of concept. We had a look at the S/4HANA technology. At that point of time, Simple Finance still, looking whether this is sufficient and starting to get familiarized with that. We had some checks whether we could use or have a benefit out of the central finance functionality that we didn't see. And then we decided that we would start with a rollout. We have company codes that we set live, and we are live now with our first release in October 2018 with one legal entity, around about 1,000 users, so not too small, but doesn't have heavy logistics processes. So that is how we get started. And then we started into these overall industrialized processes, as I was explaining that. So we have now follow-on releases, the numbering there. We started then with one additional company code the October year later, and then we started already a mid-year migration with 7 legal entities in May. It was this year. And now we had even 17 legal entities just now in October this year. So we start really to get a little bit more industrialized. We are over the phase from the first pilot we have started. And then on the bottom line, you can see this is when we started with the template I showed you before on how we developed it, how the setup is. That was not from day one, but now since over a year, in almost 2 years, we really are ready to deliver from a template system on that. And we have at the moment, we have 2 productive systems that we provide with our template deliveries. So, and now since we are at the technical journey, I would like to give you some technical highlights that we have implemented, a little bit on a voiceover where we stand and what kind of experience we have made. Overall, I can say that we are quite happy with the new features. There is a long wish list on what additional topics we would like to have. So it's definitely not the end of the journey, neither for us and hopefully not for SAP. We know that they are still developing. But overall, we think that this is a rather robust product that is working. This is my example, and now we are really getting technical, of the MDG. What you can see here is on the left-hand side, this is pre-systems that Siemens have very specific, and I spare you where we what is all about, but sometimes the root system for a master data is not it's not directly an SAP system. We get it from somewhere. And then the big middle box, this is our MDG system. And what you can see here, we always follow the same process from a workflow perspective. So we start with a search in the sense of, is this already available? Is it available maybe for other units? Then if not, we have a request, then we have a validation, a pre-approval, these kind of things, and then it's an approval and an activation. That process we follow with all our master data. And then what we did with all those master data, like for company index of Siemens, a business partner, cost centers, all these kind of topics, we put this into connection. And with that, so we have validations, we have dependencies, we have references, we have helps with the search, that this is all dependent and utilizing that. And with that, we make sure that with the one big master data, MDG, we have really consistent master data that then gets replicated into the S4 system. Now, this is then the right-hand side of this slide, gets utilized. We do not get any issues utilizing those master data anymore. And that helps us a lot during the closing time, because there we do not get these issues that pop up when we really do consolidation. We ensure with these consistency checks that we have quality at source, that our master data really are good. Where we are heading to here as well is that we have a look at not only at consistent master data and at the quality of master data. You probably know this as well. Whenever you have master data and you do not monitor this on a regular basis, it gets outdated over time. Now, things do not get updated, not deleted. So we try to embed this here via the central source with the MDG, have your quality checks as well, have your cleansing activities, and always then have them at a fingertip and with the right quality and always updated when you use it in the processes. So that is my highlight for master data. Now I'm coming here from the interface connection. Today, to some extent, even before, the situation was, probably with all of you as well, we had a point-to-point connection between the systems. So with the future and where we are live already in as of now, we have the PI embedded, so we have generic interfaces between those applications, and then we use the AIF functionality for error handling, for checking. Sometimes it's rather complex. Like first we check whether the format is right, then we check whether the data in that format is correct, then all these other things that can happen with interface monitoring, we implemented there, and we are quite happy with this overall logic. Once rather stable. Then, of course, we have the universal journal. No? That is, everybody is keen of utilizing that. I have to admit, or I have to say that it's still not fully used in all the modules. I mean, the universal journal is there, but not all functions are really 100% based on the universal journal. That gives you limitations in some of the processes. Right now, I know, for example, the processes in controlling do have issues utilizing more than 2 foreign currency or exchange rates. The famous third to eighth currency fields that got introduced with the universal journal are not supported necessarily with all the processes. SAP is getting there, but there are limits at the moment. What we see with the universal as journal is we call this terra incognita, so information we didn't have before because they were stored in different tables and you couldn't really find the common denominator to bring those data records together. That definitely is something of key interest. This was a promise or is a promise from SAP where we truly see a benefit and we see this is happening. So we could, for example, now combine liabilities and assets with projects. Before it was project system was separate from accounts receivable and accounts payable, and suddenly you can combine that. What we see here as well is that we utilize the predictive accounting functionality because that is based on the universal journal. And that is a really, really interesting functionality for the future. Even there are some gaps in the functionality, but it's quite something already available. For asset accounting, they have reprogrammed quite a lot. We had in the past always leading local GAAP bookings, and then all the other depreciation area have been derived. That has been flipped now, and that causes much less efforts in reconciliation. We have much more real-time information and are faster. So that topic I can recommend to have a look at. I mentioned when we talked about scope that we use the business integrity screening as a functionality, and that is an example for one of our processes or control processes that shows really on how much benefit this could be. On the top, you see the as-is process for our sponsoring and donation process and the approval. So we start, somebody wants to do a sponsoring or a donation to somebody, and we do this frequently. Actually, we do things in SAP. We do obviously the posting. Somebody has to pay for that all out of SAP. Then we made a download to Excel with all the relevant data. Then we have a tool, self-developed SPODOM, sponsoring and donation, where we have all the approvals and checks in there. There we made a download on Excel as well. And then what did we do? We compared those to Excels. And yes, with all the macros and all that kind of stuff that you can do, still a manual process, still very error prone. With the BIS integration, we combined all those data sources into BIS and now have the process in BIS and business integrity screening embedded and stop the process already in between if not all prerequisites or approvals are provided, and otherwise it's smoothly down, no Excel download anymore, nothing that we have to take care of manually on that. This is really a big one. Reporting and analytics, overview on all what we utilize. Obviously, we utilize the reporting apps from Fiori. We utilize Analysis for Office. I'm pretty sure that some of you have already some experiences. Analysis for Office is the baseline for our business planning functionality as well. This Excel add-in is fantastic for end users. It sometimes overwhelms end users because the change process is so big. We utilize SAP Analytics Cloud from a management perspective point of view. SAP Fiori, here we have embedded analytics. This is in place. And then we have obviously the analytical apps where we just started to tap. All of that functionality in principle works. It depends a lot on the CDS views and then the OData technology. It's rather really important that you get experts when you go to that process as well. We had a very steep and long learning curve and had to redo a lot of the stuff. But once you get there, the benefit is really great. So it's worth going that journey. And then I would like to stress as a last technical point the usage of the solution manager. We tried here as well to utilize the solution manager to a large extent. So we tried to do everything in there, from planning perspective to transporting aspects to documentation aspects, and even the test suite is embedded. What you see here is we have the system landscape here in the blue area on top, and then how this is reflected in the solution manager on the bottom. As we utilize the agile project methodology, we have focus built from the solution manager in place or in use. On that, we use requirements, work packages, work items. We have the development and the customizing connected to the work items that then triggers the transports. Here we have an add-on with the template protection connected, making sure that whenever we deliver something that's supposed to be our standard finance process suite, that nobody else can change that, or only where they should do changes on that. And then obviously we do the transfers to the target system. From a solution manager perspective, we have the work items connected to the business process master list, to the processes, process steps, and the documentation. We also use config units here. And then we have the solution deployment file. We have the solution content and transport file. We make our release notes and our feature packs automated out of the documentation from the solution manager. And that goes then into the target solution of the solution manager. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attendance and your interest. And I wish you all the best for your S/4HANA transformation. Thank you.